Are you ready for a story that'll stay with you long after it's over? This is the heartbreaking journey of a little kitten who endured more than any child should. And in the end, he taught us all the meaning of true courage. Life isn't easy for everyone, especially for those who feel like they're always fighting uphill battles alone. For one small kitten, school wasn't a place to laugh or play. It was a battleground where cruel words echoed louder than any bell, and each day was a struggle to just get through. But he never imagined that one day, his silent suffering would lead to a selfless act that no one would ever forget. Our story begins in the noisy school cafeteria. A chubby little kitten sits alone, clutching his lunch tray, hoping, just maybe, that this day would be different. But then, they came. A group of kittens, each one more mean-spirited than the last, surrounded him, sneering and pointing. "Hey, chubby boy, give me your food," shouted one, snatching his sandwich. Another laughed and pointed. "Look at this football. Are you planning to roll out of here?" Their taunts echoed around the cafeteria, blending with the other sounds, but for the little kitten, their words were all he could hear. Heart pounding, he ran from the cafeteria, straight to the library, hiding among the shelves where he could finally cry in peace. He waited there until everyone had gone, silently hoping to disappear, if only for a moment. When he finally walked home, carrying a heavy heart and tear-streaked fur, his day only got harder. Outside his little apartment, his mother was pleading with their landlord, trying to buy them a few more days. The kitten held back his tears. He didn't tell his mom about the cruel words at school. He didn't want her to worry more. That night, she tried to cheer him up with his favorite dinner, a double cheeseburger made just the way he loved. But he shook his head and quietly whispered, "I'm not hungry." He hurried to his room, shutting the door behind him, where he let himself cry alone. His mom, worried, knocked softly. "Cutie, you can tell me what happened at school." With a shaky breath, he tried to explain, but his words stumbled out in anger. "Mom, you wouldn't understand. You don't know what it's like. Leave me alone." A sadness filled his mother's heart, for she did understand. She'd faced this kind of cruelty herself as a child. She wanted to help her little one through this storm, but sometimes words just aren't enough. The next morning brought little hope. At school, his teacher had an announcement. "Kittens, today's going to be exciting. We're going on a surprise adventure trip." Cheers erupted across the room, but not from our little kitten. He wasn't in the mood for excitement. He just wanted to be invisible. As everyone boarded the bus, he chose the very last seat, hoping to avoid everyone's gaze. But even then, the mocking followed him. "Look at him in the back, sitting like a rock. Our bus might just get a flat tire." They laughed, and he tried to sink further into his seat, trying to become as small as possible. But suddenly, their laughter was silenced. The bus swerved as the driver slammed on the brakes to avoid a rabbit crossing the road. The vehicle lost control, skidding dangerously close to the edge of a trench, where it teetered on the brink. The driver shouted, "Nobody move! If we shift, the bus might tip over." Terror swept through the kittens, their laughter replaced by cries of fear. In that desperate moment, the little kitten's mind raced. He thought of his mom, of her warm hugs, of how much he wished he could be in her arms right now. And then he thought of something else, something that could save everyone. "I have an idea," he shouted, his voice louder than he'd ever heard it. One of the bullies scoffed. "Oh, like you would know anything. Just sit there." But this time he didn't let them silence him. He stood up and looked at them with a courage he didn't even know he had. "Listen, my weight can balance the bus. If everyone moves carefully, I can keep it from tipping while you all get out." The kittens exchanged glances, some doubtful, but one by one they decided to listen. Moving slowly, they followed his plan, climbing out, attaching a rope, and helping each other to safety. The little kitten stayed at his post, holding his breath, watching each one escape. Finally, he was the last one. He got up, his legs shaking, and tried to run towards the door. But as he moved, the bus started to tip. He stumbled, struggling to keep his balance. The others screamed, urging him on. "Run, you can do it!" He reached for the rope, and with one last burst of courage, leaped. Just as the bus slid into the trench below, the bus hit the water with a deafening crash, sinking quickly. On the shore, the kittens screamed in horror, convinced they'd lost their friend forever. But then, one of the bullies spotted something, a tiny, barely visible paw sticking out from under a broken window. Without hesitation, they scrambled for a rope, tying it to a nearby tree, and one by one, they descended into the wreckage. They searched frantically, moving debris, and finally, they found him. The little kitten was bruised and unconscious, but he was alive. With all their strength, they pulled him out, carrying him to safety, where the driver called for help. At the hospital, the little kitten lay motionless, tubes and wires surrounding him. His mom arrived, barely able to breathe, holding on to hope that her baby would be okay. Hours passed, until finally, his little eyes fluttered open. His bullies were there, and for the first time they weren't laughing. They were crying. "We're so sorry," they whispered. "We'll never hurt anyone again. You saved us." With a weak smile, he whispered back, "Just promise you'll be kinder. Promise me that." Tragically, his journey ended there. He left the world as a hero, a reminder of the courage it takes to stand up, even when the world tries to tear you down. And for those watching, remember, kindness matters. Stand up for one another, because not everyone finds the strength to fight alone. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel. Stand with us against bullying, and let's honor our brave little kitten by spreading kindness every day.